Hello, good morning everyone, especially to our professor, Ma'am Hannah de la Cruz. So I am one of the reporters in Group 4, starting with our leader, Leon Lime, followed by his member, Abella, Clarisse, De Guzman, Jivelin, Mariana Geraldine, Mendoza, Danica, Pegaduan Shiny, Santos Jessica, Salcedo John Orlando, Velasquez Regine, and yours truly, Angel Mark and Wildy Tagasa. So we are the Group 4 reporters in communication, politics, and governance, to be followed by the parts of it, media as a fourth state, media in a form of government, formal and informal control on media, and media and electoral politics. So let's start.
The term fourth estate is used to describe the press, describe journalists, and the news outlet for which they work as member of the fourth estate is an acknowledgement of their influence and status among the greatest powers of the nation. The author William Safire once wrote, according to William once wrote, the first amendment to the Constitution fresh the press from government control or oversight, but the freedom carries with it a responsibility to be the people watchdog. Second, unupdated terms. Use of the terms fourth estate to describe the modern media, though in somewhat outdated unless it is with irony, given the public mistrust of journalists. And news consumer said they trust the media in 2019 according to the Gallup organization. So, the four countries of history that have followed constitute a vast archive of modernity. There is no easy way to reckon the promises and prospects to be found within. So before 2004, it was common for a majority of Americans to profess at least some trust in the mass media, but since then, less than half of Americans feel the way. Not only about the third of the U.S. has only trust in the first fourth estate. A stunning development for an institution designed to inform the public group in Gallup 2016. While it is clear Americans' trust in the media has been eroding over time, the election campaign may be the reason that it has fallen so sharply this year. The press has lost its vividness as the other state faded from memory and now has a musty and stale connotation, wrote Safire, a former New York Times columnist. In current use, the press usually carries with it the aura of freedom of the press enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, while press critics usually label it with a sneer the media. This year has given a score of new words, present expression, and metaphors. Some are new, the popular, vernacular like quarantine pop, while others are just purely relevant after long histories as specialized terms.
So the meaning of fourth state is very broad, but for all of us to understand, I am here today to share with you the information I have gathered regarding the meaning of fourth state. So let's start. So, what is fourth state? So, according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the fourth state is defined to be the public press, more specifically the press ability to frame political issues. The idea of the fourth state has been around for centuries, dating all the way back to the medieval times. So, in the 19th century, the term is used solely means not involving anyone or anything else for the press and is now applied to all branches of the media. Although the fourth state is not recognized as a part of the political system, but it holds a significant amount of indirect influence over the public. So, meaning to say, it has a huge role or impact on the public because we know that the media has a big role to in our community, in our society, and in all over the world because this is where we get some news or information that's surely irrelevant. So we know the current issues or event happening in our environment being updated to all rather. Why it's called mass media is a fourth state. So why is it? It's said that the media is the fourth state because the media is the only one to stand out or in the one that gives a way for the connection of politics can be better known through journalists, reporters, or maybe the news because there are maybe more talk or they go into more detailed on political issues, especially in our time, right? So for sure, the new media is a great help to each of us because it gives us awareness about the political issues and so on and so forth. Another one is the mass media are crucial. Crucial means important. In nation building, governments can hardly survive without effective use of the mass media. The press are so powerful in any society that I was says earlier. So that's the answer why mass media is called fourth state. So now that we understand the definition of fourth state, let's get into some of the history behind it. A short history rather, we found out that Thomas Carlyle spoke of how the term was first used in a parliamentary debate back in the 70s by Edmund Burke. Burke was a served as a member of the parliament in the House Commons of Great Britain. However, Carlyle quoted a fourth as state of able editors spring up increases and multiply irreplaceable. There are the three. They hold great power in politics. There's a lot of history behind the fourth state, but let's look at its prevalence nowadays. So it is said here that the mass media or the fourth state or the fourth branch of government is also important in the three branches of government that are legislative, executive, and judicial. Because the mass media is what binds the people and the government. Another one, because if we need public support, then we need the press on our side, just like what our politicians do today. So that's the meaning of fourth state, the history, and why is it called fourth branch of the government. And I hope you learned. So the next reporter discuss media and a form of government.
Under media and forms of government are democracy and dictatorship or tyranny. So first, the democracy. It is the supreme power is given to the people and exercised by the direct or indirectly through a system of representation by Bukomi. Also, democratic government have free elections where all citizens have the right to vote. So what is the role and functions of media under this democratic government? So its role is facilitative. So media under democratic government uses journalism as a means to improve the quality of public life and promote democratic forms. It serves as a glue to hold community together, and it is also enhances the ability and desire to listen to others by script. We knew that when a country is under a democratic government, all citizens have the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and freedom to choose of religion. So media also have a powerful control to a democratic government. Through this, we can get information or access information in any kind or different platforms of media. We can get education, awareness, etc., news that needs of its people in that particular society. And also through media will act as a powerful voice of its people, whether you are rich or poor. So the other form of government is a dictatorship or tyranny. It is a government in which a single leader or party exercises an absolute control over all and every aspect of life in that particular society. That a single individual have gained power through force and everyone has to follow his policies like Adolf Hitler. So how media role on it? So by the leader in that particular society in which limited information will be given to its people, even that use of different kinds of media. So one of the example of under dictatorship is Adolf Hitler during 1933 to 1939. So, and also the existing uh, forms of government today in dictatorship is uh, North Korea.
When we say monarchy, monarchy is a political system in which supreme authority is vested in the monarch. An individual rules who functions as head of a state. The role of media in monarchy has very significant impact because usually monarch country is printed. Mostly they use written informations and they focuses on journalism through writing. When we say theocracy, theocracy is a countries where any religious institution hold the power over the king. The form of government is called theocracy. Just like monarchy, theocracy also has its own traditional way of journalism. They also focuses on written ideologies. Theocracy is a country that leads by a king. Any religious can hold the power. Therefore, the laws or rules where written media form is important to them, because these hold their beliefs and rules that can be passed on their generations.
The sixth type of the forms of government is the totalitarianism. It is a form of government and political system that prohibits all opposition parties, outlaws individual opposition to the state and its claims, and it exercises an extremely high degree of control and regulations over public and private life. So here in totalitarianism, it is a form of government that theoretically permits no individual freedom and that seeks to subordinate all aspects of individual life to the authority of the state. Seventh is the anarchy. It is a society being freely constituted without authorities or a governing body. It may also refer to a society or group of people that entirely rejects a set of hierarchy. In anarchy, it is the study of international relations, the absence of any authority superior to nation-states and capable of arbitrating their disputes and enforcing international law. The term anarchy is derived from the ancient Greek root anarchos, without authority, denoting the absence of the rule of law or settled government. Eight is the oligarchy. In oligarchy, it is a government by the few, especially despotic power exercised by a small and privileged group for corrupt or selfish purposes. Oligarchies in which members of the ruling group are wealthy or exercise their power through their wealth are known as plutocracies. An oligarchy, it is a power structure under which a small group of elite individuals, families, or corporations control a country. The people who hold the power in an oligarchy are called oligarchs and are related by characteristics such as wealth, family, nobility, corporate interest, religion, politics, or military power.
Hi, I am Leon Carlo and I'm going to discuss the formal control on media. Formal control on media. Some authors classify an action as a formal control as long as it is set by written and official document. Media law refers to the legal of culture, entertainment, advertising, broadcasting, telecommunication, and generally anything relating to a digital and analog media. What is formal social control on media? Formal control on media is often defined as any social control that is based upon the law. Some authors classify an action as formal control as long as it is set by written and official document. For example, in the rules and regulations of a particular organization. Any form and control enforced and enacted by the government are formal social controls. Examples of these are monitoring, investigations, or arrests done by the police, punishments meted out by the judicial courts, and policies of regulatory bodies such as Food and Drugs Administration. Although not always and not exclusively, formal social controls tend to be imposed punitive and repressive. A person or group under formal social control has no choice but to comply. In the past, Formal controls have often focused on crime and punishment, whether the sanction is for future deterrence or reintegration. And in the clamor of modern society for more control, government tend to make laws that prohibit or limit the actions of members of its society. Formal social controls tend to be favored type in large, urbanized societies. People in these societies continuously call to their respective government to interfere in all parts of social continuously interactions and make more and more laws. Members of these societies also do not know each other very well, so often resort to formal social controls to resolve their conflicts.
Informal social controls are any of those activities that regulate human behavior and interaction that are not based on law. Society most often and most effectively controls the behavior of its members through socialization. Informal social control can take the forms of rewards such as praise or compliments, making members feel socially desirable, and therefore reinforce desired behavior. On the other hand, informal controls can be in the forms of sanction such as ridicule or gossip to call unwanted behavior. Disinformation, social control are enforced primarily within families, schools, or workplace. Again, not only and not exclusively, informal social controls tend to be more persuasive, formative, and integrative. Social norms rarely have any coercive power, especially within highly independent and educated societies, so it would be better to resort to persuasion to get members to act. Children are taught in school not to make them repositories of knowledge, but to develop their capabilities and so that they can conform and integrate society.
Therefore, the informal way of media becomes important or have a big impact to the world itself because this informal way of media improves the economy, the functionality of media to the world itself. The more we modernize our formal way of media and informal way of media, it becomes more reliable to us. The more reliable it becomes, the more functionality and improvements to our world itself. Also, it is the element of our society in order for us to become literated to our information about media. The more we know about the media, the more we understand the media itself. And these two kinds of media is a proper way and common way of understanding the media to our society.
Media and electoral politics. So, the media are essential to democracy, and the democratic election is impossible without media. So, let us first define what is media. Media defines a number of different communication formats from television media, which share information through broadcast airwaves, to print media, which rely on printed document. So, we all know that media is everywhere, right? There are hundreds of thousands and media outlets across the globe. So, as long as there have a media, the political events may be reported. In the past or recent years, the definition of media has become more broader. It because which encompassing a media or the new media that includes a journalism or social media.
Electoral is used to describe things that are connected with election. It is a field where we elect our representatives by voting them. The more the voters, the more the chances to win the election. Elections can lead to changes in the policy of government. When you see the word electoral, you can be sure that the subject is all about political and election. This is a field where we elect our representative by means of voting them. The more the voters, of course, the more the chances to win the election. Keep in mind that the elections can lead to changes in the policy of the government.
Next, the numerous ways in which media ensure democratic electoral processes generally fall into following categories. So in discussion of the media function within electoral context or in electoral processes often focuses on the first category, which is the media as transparency or a watchdog. So when we say watchdog, it is an individual or group that monitors the activities of another entity. So in today's politics and society or our society are become large, the media is essential to safeguarding the transparency of democratic processes. So the watchdog role of the media is to gather information about the wrongdoings of the people in power, such as governmental organization, corporation, or individual or the political candidates.
Media as a campaign platform. Media sa campaign platform is to ensure the public is educated in political agendas of all participating parties and candidates equally.
Next, the third category is media as open forum for debate and discussion, or a public voice. So we all know that candidates and party campaigns are of course forms of debates, right? So with that, these are also other voices that we heard within public forums. According to International Covenant on Civil Political Rights, all people have the right to express opinion and ideas so that media provide a mechanism for regular criticism or the citizens to be heard and to influence political agendas and campaign platforms. And mostly, this is the way to show their garnering support and to influencing our fellow voters. For example, especially nowadays in political matters or talking about social media or the election, by using media such as television, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or other social media platforms, we already know how broad the election was, right? Which it has a candidate's website, public opinions, news report, press conference, debate, and protest.
Media as a public educator. Media's role as a public educator is in essence a combination of media's three other rules with a few added aspects. Like for example, media as a mechanism transparency to ensure voters are provided information necessary to fully evaluate the conduct of officials as well as the process at large.
Next, the rules of media. So the first rules of media is by educating voters on how to exercise their democratic rights. So, why voters must to educate? Because in every election, voters and civic education are necessary to all constituents because to understand their rights and their political system. For an election to be successful and democratic, voters must understand their rights and responsibilities, and it must be sufficiently knowledgeable about the candidate that deserves to be elected.
By reporting on the development of an election campaign. Special rules apply when reporting political matters during an election or referendum period. These rules are designed to ensure one party or candidates does not get advantage over the others and exists in addition to the general values concerning impartiality.
The third rules of media is by providing a platform for political parties and candidates to communicate their message. We know that in every election there's a platforms of candidates and political parties, right? To be able for them to show their message when candidates are actively campaigning. A communication platform such as social media and a media press conference is a persuasive, and it often works to change or influence opinion when it comes to political views.
One of the rule of media in enabling full participation in election is by allowing the parties and candidates to debate each other. Meaning is to ensure the voting public has the opportunity to see the leading elections debates during the general election campaign.
So next, the last rules or the fifth rules of the media is by reporting results and monitoring vote counting. So once an election over, we already know who win in election. Most people only source of information in media, such as in TV news and online media. So with that, media monitoring is an effective tool projects that provides information on reporting of the whole processes of elections and results.
The media are not the sole source of information for voters, but in a world dominated by mass communication, it is increasingly the media to determine the political agenda, even in less technologically developed countries. Common media outlets include television, newspaper, radio, internet, and etc. But those examples are not the sole or only source of information for voters, but in the said mass communications. When we say mass communications, it refers to the act of disseminating information to the masses or public.